Hey everybody, this is Dr. Maples. We're here with our final lecture on culture, and this lecture is a single slide and a single idea, but it's a really important idea, so take some really good notes on this, because we're going to come back to this many, many more times as the semester moves on. Now first, I want to introduce the idea of our lenses of sociology. We're going to use 3 lenses this semester. And the way these work, well, they're kind of like a pair of glasses. So think about a pair of glasses that you could put on and look at our society, and these glasses somehow change what you see and help you understand how things function. And each of these lenses focus on a particular element of society, we'll come to find out. Now, the lens that we're going to talk about today, and the one that's on the quiz today, but will also be on future quizzes, just FYI, is what we call structural functionalism. Now, to explain structural functionalism, let me talk about the human body. Let's pretend that you get sick. Maybe you get some kind of mild infection. Your body does this really amazing thing where if one part of the body is sick, other parts of the body will sometimes work overtime to help kind of get things back together. So for example, if your body's having kidney issues, you may find that the rest of your body will try to work even harder to compensate for that. Likewise, sometimes when you have a fever, you may even notice that your blood pressure feels like it's going up or that your heart's beating a little faster. And again, that's one organ trying to help out all the other organs to make sure everything functions. And in the end, everything gets back to normal. Well, that's actually how structural functionalism as an idea works when we think about society. Structural functionalism is all about trying to understand why society is stable. In fact, it's predictable. All sorts of horrible things can happen. Pandemics, attacks on buildings, all sorts of just inconceivable things can happen. And our society still continues to function. And the way that happens is because when one thing bad happens, you see other parts of society starting to step in. For example, think about September 11th. I know that's probably something that's outside of your memory now, but it's something that I lived through. And what I noticed was that even as social norms and society as a whole took a very, very strong punch to the gut that day, we started seeing other parts of society step in to get things back to normal. For example, we saw churches opening their doors to everyone, regardless of faith, to try to bring people together to feel solidarity and to feel like things were going to be okay, or to even talk about their concerns. We saw media organizations trying to get as much information as they could about this just rapidly happening event that no one understood. And what we found is that over time, all these different systems were really helping to make sure that the whole society stayed together. And it did. Over time, even though things have dramatically changed, and it's almost impossible for me to explain how much they have changed, everything from just how our society functions as a whole to taking a simple flight from one place to another. Even though those things have changed, our society is still stable and it still keeps going. Even though many people predicted that society would end after September 11th, I distinctly remember a radio broadcast on my drive home that night saying, well, this is the end of American society. It's not. We're still here. That's because structural functionalism. Even when one part of our society is having trouble functioning, other parts can take over and help heal those wounds. And eventually, everything else will get back online, the patient survives, and most importantly, everything remains stable. In fact, if you have to have an example to help you remember structural functionalism and what it does, remember that structural starts with ST and stability starts with ST. Structural, stable. So what we're thinking about all semester long using these lenses is looking for ways that we can understand society as a form of structure, of stability, when we think about the structural functionalism lens. Now, in our next lecture, which is part of our socialization series, we'll actually get to see our second lens, which will give us a different perspective on things. But for now, remember, whenever we start talking about structural functionalism, we're going to be thinking about this lens as a form of stability. We can look at our society and ask ourselves the question, why are things so stable in this case? We'll come back to this idea time and time again. In fact, it'll come up near the end of many of the lectures later in the semester. All right, that does it for cultural sociology. It's an extraordinary field, it's an exciting field, and most importantly, it's a very relevant field for everything that's happening in our society right now. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're having any problems with the material, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat with you over Zoom, set up an appointment, or we can meet on open office hours in Blackboard. If you have questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care.